The first note trembled in the air, a fragile thread of sound that threatened to unravel everything. In the dim glow of a New Orleans courtyard, Jada's fingers hesitated on her guitar, her heart pounding like a drum roll before a fall. 5 women, bound by a secret they swore to bury, stood on the edge of a truth that could shatter their lives or set them free. Jada, 32, had always been the quiet one, her dark eyes holding stories she never told. Growing up in the 9th Ward, she learned early to keep her heart guarded, her love for women tucked behind a smile that fooled everyone, especially her husband, Marcus. He was a good man, steady as the Mississippi, but he didn't know the real Jada. Nobody did except the 4 women standing with her now. They'd met a year ago in a support group for queer women trapped in straight marriages, a hidden corner of the city where they could breathe. Jada, Sophia, May, Clara, and Layla each carried a life polished to perfection on the outside, but inside, they were a tangle of longing and fear. Sophia, 30, stood closest to Jada, her fingers brushing Jada's as they shared a glance that felt like a stolen kiss. Sophia's life was a carefully curated Instagram feed. Her husband Diego, their 2 kids, and a Creole restaurant in the French Quarter that drew crowds. But late at night, when Diego slept, Sophia would lie awake, her mind replaying the electric moment she'd first met Jada. Their hands had touched over a shared coffee cup, and Sophia's world tilted. She was bisexual, a truth she'd buried under vows and expectations, but Jada's quiet strength made her want to dig it up. The courtyard smelled of jasmine and rain, the air thick with the weight of what was coming. Jada had written a song, Crescent Secrets, and tonight, at an open mic in the Marigny, she planned to sing it. The lyrics were a confession, raw and unfiltered, weaving their shared truth into chords. The others had begged her not to, Clara, especially, with her nervous laughter and freckled hands twisting together. Clara, 34, taught art at a private school in Uptown, her life a canvas of domestic bliss with her husband, Ethan. But her pansexual heart had always wandered, finding solace in the group's late-night talks, where she could admit she loved women too. Jada, this could ruin us, Clara had whispered last week, her voice cracking. Ethan doesn't know. None of them do. May, 28, stood a little apart, her sleek bob catching the light. She was a tech consultant, her life a whirlwind of deadlines and her husband Ryan's political campaign. May identified as queer, a word that felt like home but one she'd never dared say aloud outside the circle. She'd always been the pragmatist, warning Jada about the fallout. You sing that song, and it's not just your marriage on the line, May had said, her voice sharp. What about my job? Ryan's campaign? We're not all ready to burn it down. Layla, 35, was the wild card, her dark eyes blazing with defiance. A poet and musician, she'd fled a conservative family in Baton Rouge to build a life with her husband, Amir, who thought her late-night gigs were just artistic quirks. Layla's lesbian identity was her rebellion, a fire she stoked in secret. She'd been the one to push Jada to write the song, whispering, "Art doesn't lie, Jada. Let it speak." But even Layla's courage wavered now, her fingers tightening on her own guitar as she imagined Amir's face if he heard the truth. The support group had been their sanctuary, a place where they could be whole. They'd meet in a tucked-away community center, sharing wine and stories, their laughter a shield against the world. But Jada's song was a grenade, and tonight, she'd pull the pin. The lyrics didn't name them, but the truth was unmistakable. 5 women, married to men, in love with each other and themselves in ways their husbands could never understand. Jada had poured her soul into it, her voice a soft alto that could break hearts. She'd practiced in secret, her fingers bleeding from the strings, knowing this could cost her everything. Her marriage, her family, her safety. As the courtyard grew quieter, the hum of cicadas filling the space, Sophia stepped closer to Jada. "You don't have to do this," she murmured, her voice thick with fear and something deeper. "Love, maybe, or the ghost of it." Jada shook her head, her curls brushing her shoulders. "I'm tired of hiding, Sophia. Aren't you?" Clara's eyes darted between them, her freckles stark against her pale skin. "What if Marcus finds out? What if they all do? This isn't just about you, Jada." Her voice was a plea, but Jada's resolve didn't waver. May crossed her arms, her jaw tight. "You're playing with fire," she said, "and we're all going to get burned." Layla, ever the spark, stepped forward, her guitar slung over her shoulder. "Or maybe we'll finally be free," she said, her voice low but fierce. "Jada's right. We can't keep living half-lives." The tension crackled like static, each woman caught between fear and longing. Jada's fingers brushed the strings again, a single chord ringing out. "I'm singing it," she said, her voice steady. "For us. For me." As they left the courtyard, heading toward the Marigny, the weight of the secret pressed harder. The open mic was at a dive bar called the Rusty Note, a place where artists bared their souls to strangers. Jada's song would be a beacon, calling out to anyone who'd ever hidden who they were. But it was also a risk. New Orleans was a small world, and gossip traveled fast. Their husbands, their communities, their carefully built lives could come crashing down. The bar was packed when they arrived, the air thick with cigarette smoke and anticipation. Jada took the stage, her guitar a shield, her heart racing. The others sat at a table in the back, their faces a mix of dread and pride. Sophia's hand found Clara's under the table, a silent anchor. May sipped her drink, her eyes never leaving Jada. Layla stood near the bar, her posture defiant, as if daring the world to judge them. Jada's first note cut through the noise, pure and haunting. The crowd stilled, drawn into her orbit. Crescent Secrets began softly, a lullaby of longing, then built into a crescendo of truth. The lyrics spoke of hidden love, of hearts trapped in cages, of women who dreamed of freedom. Each word was a confession, a love letter to the four women watching her, to herself. As the final chord faded, the crowd erupted, but Jada's eyes were on her friends. Sophia's cheeks were wet with tears. Clara's hands trembled. May's expression was unreadable. Layla's smile was fierce, a silent thank you. For a moment it felt like they could do anything. Leave their marriages, claim their truth, live without fear. But then Jada saw him. Marcus, her husband, stood in the doorway, his face a mask of confusion and betrayal. He'd heard every word. The bar's applause faded into a distant roar as Jada's eyes locked with Marcus's. His broad shoulders filled the doorway, his construction worker's hands clenched at his sides. The weight of her song, Crescent Secrets, hung between them like a storm cloud ready to burst. Jada stepped off the stage, her guitar swinging against her hip, her heart a frantic drumbeat. The others noticed Marcus too. Sophia's hand tightened on Clara's. May's drink froze halfway to her lips, and Layla's defiant posture faltered. They'd known this was possible, but the reality hit like a punch. Marcus wasn't supposed to be here. He was supposed to be at home watching football, oblivious to the truth Jada had just sung to a room full of strangers. "Jada," Marcus said, his voice low but carrying over the bar's hum. "What the hell was that?" His eyes, usually warm, were sharp with something Jada hadn't seen before. Hurt, suspicion, maybe both. She wanted to run, to hide, but her feet carried her toward him, the crowd parting like water. "I need to talk to you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She glanced back at the others, a silent plea for strength. Sophia nodded, her lips pressed tight. Clara looked like she might bolt. May's eyes were calculating, already planning damage control. Layla stepped forward, ready to intervene, but Jada shook her head slightly. This was her fight. Outside, the Marigny street was alive with music and laughter, but the air between Jada and Marcus was heavy. "That song," he said, his voice shaking. "Was that about you? About us?" He didn't say the word lesbian, but it hung there, unspoken. Jada's throat tightened. She'd spent 10 years building a life with Marcus. Church picnics, family dinners, quiet nights on their porch. He was her best friend, but he wasn't her truth. "It's about me," she said finally, her voice steady despite the tears prickling her eyes. "It's about who I am, Marcus. I've been hiding it. From you, from everyone." His face crumpled, and for a moment Jada thought he might cry. Instead, he turned away, staring at the neon sign flickering across the street. "You're saying you're what? Gay? And you didn't tell me? After all these years?" "I didn't know how," Jada said, her voice breaking. "I love you, Marcus, but not the way you deserve. I've been trying to be someone I'm not." He spun back to her, his eyes searching hers. "Who else knows? Those women in there, your friends? Are they part of this?" Jada froze. She couldn't betray Sophia, Clara, May, and Layla. Their secrets were intertwined, but this moment was hers alone. "It's just me," she lied, the words tasting bitter. "The song was about me." Marcus didn't look convinced, but he didn't press. "I need time," he said, his voice rough. I can't do this right now." He walked away, his boots heavy on the pavement, leaving Jada alone under the streetlight. Back inside, the bar had returned to its chaotic rhythm, but the table in the back was a storm of whispered arguments. Sophia was the first to speak when Jada returned. "What did he say?" she asked, her voice trembling. Her hand reached for Jada's, a fleeting touch that felt like a lifeline. "He's hurt," Jada said, sinking into a chair. "He doesn't know about you all, but he's not stupid. He'll figure it out if he starts asking questions." Clara's hands were shaking now, her freckles standing out against her ashen face. "This is what I was afraid of," she said. "Ethan's at a conference tonight, but what if someone recorded your song? What if it gets back to him? To any of our husbands?" May leaned forward, her voice sharp. "We need a plan. Jada, you should have warned us you were going to sing tonight. Now we're all exposed." "Exposed?" Layla snapped, her eyes flashing. "Maybe it's time we stopped hiding." Jada had the guts to tell her truth. "What are we doing? Sneaking around like we're ashamed?" "Easy for you to say," May shot back. "Your husband's too busy with his law firm to notice you're gone half the night. Ryan's campaign team watches me like a hawk. If this gets out, his career is over and so is mine." Sophia's voice was soft but firm. "Stop it, both of you. Fighting won't help. Jada took a risk for all of us. We need to figure out what's next together." The weight of their shared secret pressed down harder. They'd built a fragile trust over months of meetings, confessing their desires in whispers, finding solace in knowing they weren't alone. But Jada's song had cracked that foundation. The bar felt smaller now, the walls closing in as strangers' eyes lingered on their table. "Let's get out of here," Clara said, her voice barely audible. "I can't breathe." They slipped out a side door, the night air cool against their flushed faces. The streets of the Marigny were alive, but the women moved like ghosts, their footsteps quick and quiet. They ended up at a small park, the kind where lovers stole kisses under oak trees. The irony wasn't lost on them. Jada sat on a bench, her guitar case at her feet. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," she said, her voice raw. I couldn't keep it inside anymore. That song. It's the truest thing I've ever done." Sophia sat beside her, their shoulders brushing. "I know," she said, "and I'm proud of you, but I'm scared too. Diego, he's not like Marcus. He won't just walk away. He'll fight for me, for the kids, for his pride." Clara paced, her hands twisting together. "Ethan's the same. He's so traditional. If he finds out I'm pansexual, he'll think it's a betrayal of everything we've built." May leaned against a tree, her arms crossed. "Ryan's campaign is all about family values. If this comes out, I'm not just losing my marriage, I'm losing my entire life." Layla, still standing, looked at each of them, her eyes fierce. "Then maybe it's time to stop living lies. We're not just wives. We're people. Don't we deserve to be free?" The question hung in the air, unanswered. Jada's song had opened a door, but none of them were sure they could walk through it. Not yet. As they parted ways, the city's heartbeat pulsed around them. Jazz spilling from bars, the clatter of horse-drawn carriages, the hum of lives unaware of their turmoil. Jada walked home alone, her guitar heavier than ever. Marcus wasn't there when she arrived, the house eerily quiet. She sat on the porch, strumming softly, the notes of prayer for courage. But across the city, the ripples of her song were spreading. A stranger in the bar had recorded it, and by morning, Crescent Secrets was on YouTube, the comments already buzzing with speculation. The secret was out, and there was no pulling it back. By morning, New Orleans was whispering. The YouTube video of Jada's performance had spread like wildfire, shared across group chats and social media. The comments were a mix of awe and curiosity. Who are the women in the song? Is this about a real group? Sounds like someone's hiding something big. Jada woke to a flood of notifications, her stomach twisting as she realized the secret was slipping out of her control. She met the others at a cafe in the Garden District, a place tucked away enough to feel safe. The air was thick with tension, the smell of coffee doing little to soothe their nerves. Sophia arrived first, her eyes red from a sleepless night. "Diego saw the video," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "He asked me if I knew you, Jada. I lied, but he didn't believe me." Clara was next, her hands shaking as she clutched her phone. "Ethan's still at his conference, but his sister texted me the link. She said it's all over her book club's chat. They're calling it scandalous." May stormed in, her face a mask of barely contained fury. "This is exactly what I warned you about, Jada. Ryan's campaign manager called me at 6 a.m. They're already spinning this to make sure it doesn't touch him. But if they trace it to me, I'm done." Layla, the last to arrive, didn't sit. She leaned against the counter, her eyes blazing. "You're all acting like this is the end of the world." Jada told her truth. "Maybe it's time we told ours." "Easy for you," May snapped. "You don't have kids, Layla. You don't have a whole community watching your every move. Some of us can't just walk away." Sophia's voice broke the argument. "Stop, please. We're in this together whether we like it or not. We need to decide what to do before this blows up any further." Jada sat silently, her hands wrapped around a cold coffee cup, the weight of their anger, their fear, pressed against her chest. She'd wanted to be free, but she hadn't meant to drag them all into the fire. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I didn't think it would spread like this." Clara's eyes softened, but her voice was sharp. You didn't think? Jada, you sang our lives to a room full of people. You didn't even warn us. I warned you it was coming, Jada said, her voice rising. I told you I was tired of hiding. I thought you'd understand. Understand. May's laugh was bitter. You put us all at risk. My husband's running for city council. If this gets tied to me, his career's over. And mine. Sophia reached for Jada's hand, her touch a quiet anchor. We're scared, Jada. But we're not mad at you. Not really. We need a plan. The cafe door chimed and they froze. It was just a delivery guy, but the moment underscored their paranoia. The city felt like a minefield now, every glance a potential threat. They lowered their voices, leaning closer. Layla, ever the firebrand, spoke first. We have two choices. We double down and keep hiding, or we come clean. All of us. Together. Clara shook her head, her freckles stark against her pale skin. I can't. Ethan will take the kids. He'll make it a war. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Diego's the same. He loves me, but he's proud. If he finds out I'm bisexual, he'll think I've been lying to him our whole marriage. May's voice was cold. And Ryan will spin it to save his campaign. He'll make me the villain, the unfaithful wife, even though I've never acted on anything. Jada looked at each of them, her heart aching. I didn't mean to force you out. I couldn't keep living a lie. Marcus deserves better. I deserve better. Layla nodded, her expression fierce. Exactly. We all do. Maybe this is our chance to stop pretending. The idea hung there, terrifying and exhilarating. For a year, they'd found solace in their secret meetings, in the stolen moments where they could be themselves. But Jada's song had turned their whispers into a shout, and now the world was listening. They spent the next hour strategizing. May suggested damage control, deleting the video if possible or claiming it was fiction. Clara wanted to lay low, hoping the buzz would die down. Sophia proposed talking to their husbands one by one to control the narrative. Layla pushed for a public statement, a collective coming out that would reclaim their story. Jada stayed quiet, her mind replaying Marcus's face in the doorway. By the time they left the cafe, they'd agreed on a fragile plan. They'd monitor the video's spread, deny any personal connection if asked, and meet again in 2 days to reassess. But as they stepped into the humid afternoon, Jada's phone buzzed with a new notification. The video had hit 10,000 views, and a local blogger had posted a theory. Is Jada Monroe's song about a secret queer network in New Orleans? The name Jada Monroe sent a chill through her. She hadn't used her full name on stage, but someone had recognized her. The secret was unraveling faster than they could contain it. That night, Jada sat alone in her living room, Marcus still gone. She strummed her guitar, the notes soft and mournful. She thought of Sophia's hand in hers, of Clara's nervous laughter, of May's sharp pragmatism, of Layla's fierce courage. They were her family in a way Marcus could never be, but loving them meant risking everything. Across town, Sophia sat with Diego, his questions growing sharper. Clara deleted her social media accounts, her hands shaking. May met with Ryan's campaign team, deflecting their suspicions with a forced smile. Layla wrote a poem, her pen scratching out words of defiance and fear. The city hummed with their secret, and Jada knew the next move would change everything. She picked up her phone and texted the group. We need to talk to them. All of them. Together. Jada's text landed like a stone in still water, sending ripples through the group chat. The idea of confronting their husbands together was unthinkable, yet it felt like the only way forward. The YouTube video was nearing 50,000 views, And the blogger's post had sparked a local radio segment speculating about New Orleans' secret queer wives. The city was closing in, and silence was no longer an option. They met at Layla's apartment in Mid-City, a cramped but vibrant space filled with poetry books and half-finished canvases. The air was thick with tension, the hum of a ceiling fan the only sound as they sat in a circle on the floor. Jada's guitar leaned against the wall, a silent reminder of the spark that had ignited this fire. "We can't keep lying," Jada said, her voice steady but soft. "The truth is out there whether we like it or not. If we don't tell our husbands ourselves, someone else will." Sophia's eyes were red, her hands twisting in her lap. "Diego's been asking questions all day. He saw the video, heard the radio. He thinks I'm hiding something. I can't keep dodging him." Clara's voice was barely audible. "Ethan's back tomorrow. If he hears this from someone else, he'll never forgive me. But if I tell him I'm pansexual, he might not anyway." May's jaw was tight, her arms crossed. "Ryan's team is already sniffing around. They're talking about a press conference to clear the air. If I don't come clean, they'll spin it to make me look like a liar." Layla leaned forward, her eyes fierce. "Then we tell them, all at once. We invite them to one place, lay it all out. No more secrets." The idea was terrifying, but it had a strange clarity. They'd spent a year hiding, whispering their truths in the shadows. Now the shadows were gone, and the light was blinding. They debated logistics, where, when, how. A neutral space, they decided, somewhere public but private enough to talk. They chose a community center in Treem, the same one where their support group met. Felt fitting, a full circle. The next evening, they sent the texts. Jada's to Marcus was simple. "We need to talk. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., Treem Community Center. Please come." Sophia's to Diego was laced with apologies. Clara's to Ethan was hesitant. May's to Ryan curt and professional. Layla's to Amir was bold, almost daring him to show up. The hours before the meeting were agony. Jada stayed up all night, strumming her guitar, the chords a mix of fear and resolve. Sophia cooked for her kids, her hands shaking as she stirred gumbo. Clara painted, her brushstrokes frantic, colors bleeding together. May worked late, her laptop screen a blur of campaign emails. Layla wrote, her pen carving out a poem about truth and ruin. When the moment arrived, the community center was quiet, the air heavy with the scent of old wood and coffee. The 5 women sat in a row of chairs, their husbands filing in one by one. Marcus, broad and silent, his eyes fixed on Jada. Diego, his jaw tight, avoiding Sophia's gaze. Ethan, confused, clutching a travel mug. Ryan, polished and guarded, his campaign smile in place. Amir, his face unreadable, stood apart. Jada spoke first, her voice cutting through the silence. "Thank you for coming. We have something to tell you. It's about who we are and why we've been hiding." One by one, they spoke. Jada told Marcus she was a lesbian, her love for him real but not romantic. Sophia confessed to Diego that she was bisexual, her heart torn between her family and her truth. Clara, tears streaming, told Ethan she was pansexual, her love for him tangled with her need to be whole. May, her voice steady, told Ryan she was queer, her life with him a performance she could no longer sustain. Layla, fierce and unapologetic, told Amir she was a lesbian, her marriage a cage she'd chosen to survive. The room was a storm of reactions. Marcus's hands shook, but he stayed silent, his eyes never leaving Jada. Diego's voice rose, his words sharp with betrayal. Ethan's face crumpled, his mug hitting the floor. Ryan's smile vanished, his eyes cold. Amir turned and walked out, his silence louder than words. The husbands asked questions: how long, why, who else knew? The women answered as best they could, their voices raw with honesty. It wasn't just about their identities. It was about the love they'd found in each other, the support group that had become their lifeline. They didn't name each other's truths, but the implication was clear. They were in this together. When it was over, the room felt emptier, the air heavy with what had been said and what hadn't. Marcus was the last to leave, his hand lingering on Jada's shoulder. "I don't understand," he said, his voice thick, "but I want to try." It was a small hope, but it was enough for now. The women stayed behind, their hands finding each other in the quiet. They'd faced their fears, and the world hadn't ended, but it had changed irrevocably. The days after the confrontation were a blur of consequences and choices. Jada moved into a small apartment in the Bywater, her guitar her only constant. Marcus had asked for space, but he texted her daily, small messages that hinted at hope. "I'm trying to understand." Sophia and Diego were in counseling, their marriage teetering but not broken. Diego's pride was wounded, but his love for Sophia kept him at the table. Clara and Ethan were separated, their kids caught in the middle, but Clara felt lighter, her truth a weight lifted. May left Ryan's campaign and his life, her career in limbo but her heart free. Layla and Amir were done, her poetry now a public declaration of her lesbian identity. The city hadn't stopped talking. Crescent Secrets was a local phenomenon. Jada's song now a symbol of courage for some, scandal for others. The support group grew, new faces joining, drawn by the story of 5 women who dared to be themselves. The women still met, their bond stronger for the fire they'd walked through. One evening, they gathered in the same New Orleans courtyard where it all began. The string lights glowed, the air sweet with jasmine. Jada strummed her guitar, a new song taking shape, one of healing and hope. Sophia sat close, their fingers laced, no longer hiding. Clara sketched in a notebook, her lines softer now. May smiled, her guard down for the first time in years. Layla recited a poem, her voice a beacon. They'd lost much: marriages, security, the comfort of lies. But they'd gained more. Themselves, each other. A truth that sang louder than any song. Jada's chords filled the night, a reminder that freedom, though costly, was worth every note. The world was still watching, but they were no longer afraid. They were whole, and that was enough.